Oh, yeah, we back in the building. 3kingsboxing.com. Here with the undisputed welterweight. Actually, let me just say it like this. That's incorrect. That's a 2-division unified champion y'all looking at right there. Now an undisputed welterweight champion, Miss Jessica Caskilla Mccaskill. How you doing today, champ?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. We've had you a couple times in person. We've had you on the show a couple times. So, yeah,
Yep.
this is nothing new. She actually told us she was going to whoop Cecilia Brackets before the fight took place.
I tried to tell you.
She did. She said, what did you say, Bo? You said, you going to beat the queen? And
Yeah.
what did Jessica say? She said, she ain't the
not
queen of Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Exactly. All right, man. Without further ado, we're gonna kick it over to my man Bo, aka Bo. You know what I'm saying? What's good? Let him know.
Well, let me add something to that. Probably the greatest fighter out of Chicago. He forgot to add that. I don't know if we had I think the last undisputed champion you had was myself back in 1835. Yeah. So just let's go ahead on and get started. Oh, right now you are the hunter. You are being hunted more than anything right now. You knocked off one of the best fighters of this era. You're undisputed. People always wanted to fight her. Now you're in the mix with the Amanda Serranos, the Katie Taylors. You're looking at that rematch again. Chantel Cameron, she's barking at the door. And then, of course, there's Clarissa Shields who wanted a piece of that. And then you got the rematch with
Yeah.
if she wants it. But
Yeah.
I want to know, how are you going to maintain that hunger now that you've reached the top? Because you're at the pinnacle now. How do you maintain that hunger?
The thing is I don't limit myself. So the hunger doesn't stop just because I beat somebody or because I took away, zeros. There's other people out there with zeros. There's other zeros I can take. So the hunger is going to be there until I feel like, I'm done, but we're not finished yet. Like I only have 11 fights. Like I just started. So, we got more zeros to grab and more history to make.
Okay, now you say more history to make. Here's a piece of history you guys don't know. That WBC belt you holding is the first version that they ever made for women fighters.
That is right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What did that feel like when you got that belt?
I mean, there's so many different elements of life that kind of fly at you. And I have a post on my Instagram, and I don't remember what year it was. I think I had either just turned pro or I might have still been amateur. And I think the WBC posted a picture of their belt, and I reposted and I said, I'm gonna get me one of these one day. And I did. And so that was in 2018. So like that's the feeling that, it's just like so accomplished. And so just to get a different bird to have two belt, I mean, that's some of the best things that can happen to have double, so I mean it's really good. And I always want to create history, and so being a part of history is of course awesome.
Now, when it's been foot on the gas ever since the Katie Taylor first fight. It's been
Yeah.
foot on the gas for you.
Yeah.
When are you gonna take your foot off that gas and sit back and enjoy this moment? I mean, because right now, when you look at it right now, you can make a case that you belong on the pound for pound list.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing is, I was like I told you guys, like I've been trying to make my case since I first started. I've always been the underdog. I've always fought people with winning records and with higher number of fights and higher number of wins than myself. And so I've always put myself, on the world champion level and on pound for pound level. And it just took a minute, to get there, and it took a minute for other people to recognize me. So I feel like, I'm number 4 on the pound for pound list, and I feel like I need to be higher. So, I mean, that's some hunger right there. It's some things for me to chase right there. So I don't want to take too much of a break, and I don't want to take my foot off the gas. I mean, I want to keep rolling until I'm done. It's very important to just stay consistent. And the minute you back off of that is when errors and mistakes come creeping in.
All right, one last question before I let my man 2K jump in. Rick Ramos, shout out to our writer Mike Wilson. Rick Ramos said the Katie Taylor rematch will be different.
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys looking at that as like, do you want to get back on that girl?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, I felt like I could have knocked her out back then, and I almost did with the left hook in one of the later rounds. And I feel like I'm such a different fighter now in all of the experience that I've gained in these past handful of fights, and I'm only getting better. And physically, she's an old boxer. She's had numerous amateur fights, and she's had her professional wars that she's been through. And honestly, when I look at the last handful of fights that she's had, she looks like the same fighter. You don't see any progression. You don't see anything new. And it's like, true, if it ain't broke, don't break it. But at the same time, she's not showing me anything different. And with me being better on my game, she's just going to be able to hand it to me, and I'll take it.
Prodigy?
One thing I want to say is this. Jessica Mccaskill's had 11 fights, right? She is a 2-division unified champion. She is going to be, or at least she's put her name in the history books as the 4th undisputed champion in women's boxing history, right? First was Caskilla Brækhus, second was Claressa Shields, third was Katie Taylor, and then now she's the 4th. But she's the only undisputed champion that actually defeated another undisputed champion to get that crown. She is the first to do that as a woman. So that's big props right there. All right, number one. Number two, big props because a lot of people talk about how Claressa Shields is a 3-division unified champion and just 10 fights. You're a 2-division and 11 fights, but you had to go through a bigger gauntlet, in my opinion, simply because you had to take L's to get to this point, right? So not saying that I appreciate you more than any other fighter, not saying that, but I'm just saying I want the fans to understand that what Jessica Mccaskill is doing at the age of 35 is just as miraculous. I want people to understand that, especially for women's boxing. Katie Taylor. Now, I know Bo just asked that question, but I didn't feel enough fire in that answer.
Okay.
Because everybody's talking about Katie. And to be quite honest with you, while we take this interview out to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever it's going to go, people are not going to believe that you can beat Katie Taylor, especially given the performances that she's had against Delphine Persoon, the performance that you had against her back in 2017 when you had your first fight with her. Hell, even maybe the performance you had against Caskilla Brækhus. Mm-hmm. What do you think you would do differently if that rematch happened to ensure? Because your trainer manager said you're going to stop her in the rematch.
Yeah.
How would you ensure that? What would you do to change to ensure that takes place?
Well, first, let me say, it doesn't matter if people don't think I can do it. They're going to tune in. They're going to buy their subscription to the Zone to see if I'm going to do it. They're going to make sure those dollar bills come in, and I'm going to have that fanship coming in and all those viewers coming in, whether they love me or they hate me, and that's fine. And what do I think I'm going to, my body's changed physically so much over the years. And I mean, the percentage of fat that I have is almost, not even there. And the strength and conditioning that we do, the pace that we carry. I mean, the last fight, I threw 230 more punches than Caskilla. Like, how do you even do that with 2-minute rounds? I mean, we don't really count numbers in the gym like that. Like, the coach is counting our punches, but he's not broadcasting. He'll either say, you need to pick it up, or no, you're good. But he's not saying you're right at 165, or he's not telling us that. We just know we need to work harder. And so when I'm in the ring, he doesn't have a punch counter. When I'm fighting Caskilla, he doesn't have a punch counter. He's off of memory, thinking you need to do more, or I'm thinking I need to punch more. And that drive and that consistency of training that we do is unmatched. Nobody trains as hard as I do. I would bet my entire life on it. So, I mean, whatever Katie's doing right now, she might be, eating some Cheerios, watching cartoons, and I'm in the gym. I'm in the gym right now. I've been in the gym all day. Like, nobody spends as much time in the gym as I do. And that's just a level of confidence that I'm going to bring to the table, and the level of workmanship that I'm going to bring to the table.
So my man Bo did mention other fighters that are signed to the Zone or Matchroom/the Zone, especially Amanda Serrano. Of course, you got the Caskilla Brækhus rematch. I mean, what are you looking to do? 35 years old, right? Time is ticking, depending on how you feel. Let me put that clause in there. Depending on how you feel, time is ticking. What do you think you want to do next? If you don't, let's say Caskilla Brækhus, because she's saying, I'm going to take some time off. Let's say that
Yeah.
rematch doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Katie Taylor looks towards somebody else. Who do you want next?
I don't think either one of those two have a choice to look anywhere else. Like Cecilia, she may take some time off, which is fine. She should step aside from a business standpoint anyway, and make sure that the Katie Taylor Mccaskill 2 rematch happens. That's best for her in the business plan, because, you know, let's say she rematches with me, I beat her again, I knock her out. Nobody's gonna want to fight her. Like, she's done. They're going to retire her. Like, that's not anything that people are going to, you know, pay to see going forward. She steps aside. Mccaskill Taylor 2 happens. You know, she can fight the winner or the loser. She's got 2 fights now that she's going to be able to do. So it makes sense. You know, Cecilia, you wait your turn, have a seat, and then Katie Taylor and I can go ahead and bring up old history.
So I got a question from the chat. My man Lawrence Williams, aka the Guru, he said, "Ask Jessica if there's a time frame for Cecilia to trigger her rematch clause."
I believe she's got another couple of weeks to make a decision on if that's going to happen or not. If she's gonna wait, or if she's going to execute it or not. I think she's got a couple more weeks, so we haven't heard anything yet, and we're just waiting.
Okay. So Bo mentioned Clarissa Shields early in this show, and you had a little chuckle. What was that?
we called out Clarissa.
Stole my question.
We called out Clarissa Shields because we figure big names, big fights. You know, we want to make sure that we're elevating the female boxing realm. We're making sure that we elevate female boxing history going forward. And I don't think she wants to fight. I don't think she can make it to 145. And, you know, we're serious about, you know, this path. And if there are people on the path that are not serious, then fine. Then, you know, they can do what they want. So again, you mentioned Amanda Serrano. Our teams have talked on several occasions. We would both love to put that fight on. I think that would be fireworks. And so that's something that could definitely happen in the future. I mean, there's a ton of other fighters out there who we've tried to connect with before we've got world titles, and you know, people just kind of close their door and whatever. And then, of course, when you're undisputed, everybody's going to come at you. So it's like people are trying to resurface, and it's like, you know, and honestly, from a fighter to the rest of the fighting world, if you want to be considered, and if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to be respected, you have to be in the gym. You have to be ready. So if you get that call, there should be no, oh, I'm not in the gym right now. That should not even exist. On another level, you got to make sure that you have a good manager, trainer they're putting your boxing level higher. Get a belt, get a local belt, get something small, so that people can call you a champion and respect you for a certain level, and then you can go against other champions. You have to elevate yourself. You have to have knockouts. You can't just, you know, pro debut and start calling out the person at the top or saying that you won $1 million. Those things don't work. You got to work for it, and you got to get yourself at a respectable level first.
So I 100% agree. And Bo, I'm going to go to you after I read a comment from the chat after this question. But I 100% agree that Clarissa Shields can't make 147. Now, her nutritionist says that she can with no problems.
145. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, 145. Okay,
Yeah.
So you might answer my question then, because she's been basically chasing Cecilia Brackett since before Brackett signed the Matchroom, right? And was able to put together the fight with you. Would you ever consider going to 154?
And to answer that, there's really no reason for me to do that. I mean, you have to take the level that you're at, and I'm at the undisputed level, and then you say, like, go to 154. I'm giving away everything that I've worked towards. Like, I'm putting myself back on the B side. Like, I have to own this space that I'm in and rule it for as long as me and my team decide that we need to be here. So just to go back down to 135 for a fight doesn't make sense. To go to 154 for a fight doesn't make sense. We're going to play on my level. We're going to play at this playing field. And, you know, you just have to be able to take control of those things. A lot of times people will come in, not saying you, but just like boxing fans that don't really know how things go, and they'll shoot you everywhere and pair you up with, you know, they'll pair up men against women, you know, and they don't understand the dynamics of the business side of boxing. So that's kind of where we stand on that.
Absolutely. I know you already answered this, champ, but we gotta give the fans an opportunity. So Huru Messiah said, if Cecilia doesn't execute the rematch clause, who would you like to fight next?
I would love to fight Katie Taylor. I think that would be great for the fans. A lot of people have been itching to see that. Whether they're her fans or my fans, it doesn't really matter. I think we're on a really good roll right now with female boxing matches and elevating the sport across the board altogether. So I think that would be the next monumental thing, the rematch.
Absolutely. Okay, Bo.
All right, you laid out some things, and I was taking notes. Now I know that you had a job working at a bank, so that tells me you work with money,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Numbers.
Well, numbers. Now, with that being said, because you said something very important, a lot of people don't understand this. You are implementing your ASAP power right now. Now, people don't understand. You went through a lot to get here, but you make a very good point. I want you to elaborate more on why you shouldn't give up your advantages to go, like you said, down to 135 or 154. Because the reality is, a lot of people go, "Oh, she's ducking, she's doing this, or she's playing that money role now that she's in power." Because you're in a position to demand big bucks now.
Right.
How do you explain this to people that, hey, this is, now that I'm on this side and I've worked for it, these are the things you must do as a champion?
My last fight is the best example of that. We fought a reigning champion, undefeated, undisputed champion. And when Rick made the deal with the promoters and with her team, he said, we want this fight at 145. Cecilia's 147. She always comes in at 147, probably nothing lower. And they didn't take the fight seriously to where they gave up 2 pounds. She was the reigning champion. She had all the balls in her court, and she could have very well said, no, we're going to fight this at 147. I'm not giving up weight for you. I'm not going to dehydrate myself for you. You have to come up to my level. I'm comfortable here. And they gave up that power. And when you're on that level, you don't have to do that. And what did that cost her? Everything.
Okay. All right. So now let's look at this. Now that, because you said now that you have that power, you're going to hold on to it. When you start looking at these fights, and you talked about it's better on the business side for Cecilia to step aside and let you fight Katie Taylor. When you look at the landscape, you have a lot of people out there that are saying they want a piece of you now. They want a piece of this and a piece of that. How do you decipher? Because all of them are saying it. How do you decipher who's serious and who's not, and who should we look at and who we shouldn't, from a financial standpoint and honestly from a boxing standpoint?
There's a lot of things that you can take into consideration. You can go to their social media, see if they're even in the gym, see if they're dragging you along, and then you say yes, and then they say no, and then you're back to ground zero, right? You can go with what their team is made of. Do they have a promoter? Are they gonna offer you pennies for a fight that should be a lot more? Is this a fight that is gonna be like at a somewhere local that's not worthy of DAZN, viewership, or is this something that can be broadcast all over the world? Like, you have to make sure that you stay at a certain level, because as soon as you drop below that level, then your business is degrading, and you never want to degrade what you worked so hard for. So you have to see what your opponents are made of, and what they've built up over time. And we talk about Katie. Katie's got a great record. She's with Matchroom, and she fights on DAZN. So she's got all of that behind her. Same thing with me. I have a good record. I have all the belts at a certain level. And so, when it comes to stepping to the table, you have to step correctly, or, wait until you have some kind of bargaining chip to get you to the table.
All right, I'm gonna read a comment from one of our fans here, Eric R. She's a chess player. I like that already.
I do like chess, yeah.
Yeah, see that. That's the, hey, y'all hear that, man? That's Chicago talking right there. That's 100% Shot Town. One last question before I let my man 2K go. Where do you see yourself? And I know fighters don't like to look at this, but is there a part of you, Jessica Mccaskill, that sees yourself working in boxing after boxing?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, coming under the tutelage of Rick Ramos and his training and his management, I see so much, and even with the boxer trainer, boxer manager relationship that we have, he's completely transparent. There's not an email that goes across his desk about me that I don't see. I see all of the numbers. I see all of the negotiations. I see everything that happens, and so I'm able to not only feel comfortable in, the contractual agreement that I have with him, but I'm able to have confidence in, what we're doing, and also learning at the same time. So I would love to sign fighters. He's already grooming me for that. I'm already training people to a certain degree, and I teach here at the class and give personal training sessions. I've cornered fights. I mean, boxing, I've put aside a lot of different kind of smaller things and hobbies for boxing, and boxing has definitely taken over a large part of my life, and it's going to continue after I'm done fighting.
All right, 2K.
I just have a side question. Do you have an extensive amateur background?
No, I have about 25 amateur fights.
Yep, and I already knew that. I just wanted you to say that. Because actually, Bo and I, we went to your fight against, it was your rematch against Farias. We were there.
Okay.
And that's actually the fight. We actually interviewed you after the press conference. We interviewed you right outside the door.
Oh, it was late. Oh my God, that was a late night.
Exactly. We were talking about that at the fight. Like, man, she does not have an amateur background. And Bo already knew this about you, being from Chicago as well. So I want to emphasize of how good this. I don't think enough people understand how good of an accomplishment it is to be an undisputed champion with only 11 bouts. I mean, if you got to keep shouting it, Jessica, I think you should. With only 11 bouts and you have 25 amateur bouts. I mean, the last two undisputed champions, Katie Taylor and Clarissa Shields, they're gold medalists in the Olympics, right? Yeah. So, I mean, you're coming on to the same stage as those two women, right? And you're basically standing next to them like, hey, I got the same accolades you got. Yeah. I don't have the amateur background.
Did it in less fights. Yeah.
Exactly. So my last question before I let Bo take us out, we got to give you some time back. I know you need time to rest and everything. What do you want your fans and everybody at 147 to know what's about to happen next for Jessica Mccaskill?
I mean, probably a few fights back, every fight has been the biggest fight of my life, and I don't expect that to change. We're looking for history-making moments. We're looking for belts. We're looking for big names. We're looking to ruffle feathers and upset the party. I mean, if there's zeros out there, we will probably aiming to come get them. So just know that, I mean, we're over here grinding harder than anybody else and pushing our levels to be great, not only because I want to make such an impact on the boxing world, but also because I have a platform and there's people out there who have lived the life that I lived, and people that are going through moments that I've been through, and I just want to use this platform for good. And absolutely. I think everybody can kind of take a cue from that and to really use what they're doing right now to reach back and pull somebody else up, and that's all I really want to do.
Absolutely. All right, Bo, go ahead and take us out, man.
All right, man. Before I do, a loyal fan, I got to get him in here with what he said. He said, definitely defend those belts, Jessica. How is your mindset now that you are the undisputed champ, going from chasers to being chased?
I really don't focus on that. I focus on what I'm chasing, and being undisputed, that was something that I was chasing, and then, so it's on to the next thing, and it has to be bigger and it has to be better. And people ask me things like, you feel different? And it's like, no, I feel like I've accomplished something, and there's so many things in my past that they were life changing, like being a first generation graduate from college and getting my degree in the mail, and I broke down crying, and that was life changing, and that is what makes all this other stuff easy. It's just like, being undisputed is amazing, but I don't know what it is yet, but the next thing is going to be, maybe it's when I get in the Hall of Fame, I don't know, but the next thing is going to be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Fan said, when you are the only woman alive to beat Cecilia Brackets, we know who you are.
Yeah.
All right. You know what, man? Let me say this. You know, you are living proof that just because you take a L doesn't mean anything. It don't mean your career is over.
That's right.
You're
Yeah.
living proof of that, because a lot of fighters, people don't realize the Hall of Fame is full of guys that get numbers by that L column. So you're
Yeah.
living proof that not only can you, as long as you work hard, like you said, you don't have a lot of amateur fights, but you dedicated yourself to working hard every day. You dedicated yourself to being accessible to the people.
Yeah.
You dedicated yourself to this craft, and now that you reached the pinnacle, you're conducting yourself like you said, like you have to as a champion. A lot of people don't get that, so definitely thank you for that, man. Jessica, tell everybody where they can continue to follow you, find you, and be aware of what's coming up next on your social media platform.
All of my social media is first name, last name, Jessica Mccaskill. You can always look up hashtags Team Mccaskill as well. And that's going to be Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. All right, everybody. As always, go to 3kingboxing.com for the latest and greatest what's going on in the sport of boxing. I want to thank Jessica Mccaskill, the undisputed greatest fighter in Chicago since I was undisputed back in 1834.
Caskilla.
Caskilla. Caskilla is in the building. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank my man, 2K the Prodigy, for being here to help me out with this interview. All you fans, man, you guys keep coming, keep tuning in. Boxing, women's boxing is hot right now, and Caskilla is sitting on top. We out.
Yes.